being recorded. So I've actually been meaning to review what's going on in Sudan for a long time, and so I'm actually afraid. I'm actually afraid to even talk about it because I just know it's going to be bad. I just know it's going to be bad. I just don't know if my heart can even take it. Um, so let's just go over it together.
You care about this country or that war, but if there is any truly ignored war on Earth, it's the one going on in Sudan right now. Since 2023, Sudan has been suffering from complete state breakdown, and owing to its massive population of over 50 million people, making the current crisis not just the making of another failed state, but the largest humanitarian crisis on Earth. In 2025, it was the country with the highest number of people facing famine, of internal refugees.
I need you to understand this. The reason they keep calling it humanitarian crisis because the things that are happening are anti-human. Do you understand that? The things that are happening are anti-human because the humans, right? Humans have certain needs, right? And if those needs are not being met, that is anti-human. And it just and can you just guess? Can you just guess who is at the we haven't actually talked about who are going to be the ones causing this, but let's just right, we haven't reached that part of who is causing this. So let's just take a guess. Let's just take a guess who is causing this. Could it be, is it possible to be the women who are humans who are going to be causing their own anti-human state, or is it going to be the males who are pretending to be human who is going to be causing the anti-human state? Let's just guess. Let's just guess before we move ahead. I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to give you a minute to guess. Guess. Yeah. Actually, not a minute. 10 seconds. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, I need you to put your guess in the comments. What did you guess? What did you guess is causing this anti-human state?
And the most mass death. Beating out, not to use another cliche, these wars you might be a little more familiar with. To fully understand the crisis, you need to understand how Sudan got to this point. But first, let me just try to share how awful Sudan's civil war is in under 6 minutes. The chain of events started when longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir was ousted after months of popular protests, triggered by economic collapse. Weighing into pressure, the armies called into the capital to defend him instead turned on him in April of 2019. They forced him out, giving the military power for a few months to go through a transitional phase. Two military sects held power together, the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces, a paramilitary and business empire which grew out of the Arab supremacist Janjaweed militia, which, by the way, translates in English to devils on horseback. The SAF was headed by Abdel al-Burhan, while the RSF was led by General Hamdam Dagalo, better known as Hemedti, also known to al-Bashir as My Protector. His career has been made through helping the Sudanese government crush rebels, controlling Sudan's gold exports, and sucking up to the president. After the transitional government, the two men which ran these militaries, big surprise, vied for control of the country against each other, rapidly degenerating Sudan into a civil war which broke out in April 2023. The main disparity was over the creation of a joint army. Al-Burhan wanted it done by 2 years, while Hemedti wanted it done by 10. Naturally, they started shooting at each other to solve this debate. Now the SAF controls the East, Nile River, and coastline, posturing itself.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Naturally. Naturally. Wait a minute. Women have conflicts all the time. We have conflicts all the time as much as men do. How come we naturally don't shoot at each other? How come? How come it's natural for them, but it's not natural for us? How come? Because we're not the same species, you guys. Because we are not the same species. Your species, there are certain things that your species are supposed, like a species is supposed to have in common with every individual. There are certain things that you're supposed to have in common with every individual. And one of them is what this is, your propensity for violence. You're supposed to have that in common. That is something that is supposed to be in common, something that is this sweeping, something that is this sweeping. right? This would be something that you will have in common if we were the same species.
As the true government, while the RSF
Telling you that, they have this, this is part of their nature because they're a different kind of human. No, no, that doesn't exist. That does not exist. And the reason, again, it doesn't exist is because then how do you ensure that your species is actually safe when when one of them is violent, not only violent, but is willing to perpetrate that violence on the other kind? Because then what is the purpose of being alive if you're just going to come and die? There is no purpose to it. Biology does not work that way.
controls the West, including a region known as Darfur, launching a campaign for either total control of the country or to separate as its own state. The details aren't really hashed out yet. The subsequent fighting has torn the social fabric of Sudan apart. At least 500,000 have died, with 15 million displaced, overwhelming refugee camps, and 25 million suffering from hunger as farms and food stockpiles are deliberately burned. In a country made up of 40% children, 90% of them are out of school. This is total collapse. Sudan has seen many civil war camps and 25 million suffering from hunger as farms and food stockpiles are deliberately burned. In a country made up of 40% children, 90%
Food stockpile are deliberately burned. Oh my God, this is evil. Oh my goodness, Jesus Christ. I can't stand these males. Oh my God. Oh my goodness, dude. They're burning food on purpose. They are burning food. You have to understand that everyone needs to eat, but they're burning food on purpose. That's crazy.
90% of them are out of school. This is total collapse. Sudan has seen many civil wars in its history, but none reaching into its major cities. This time around, Sudan's capital and cultural center, the Tri-City area of Khartoum, has seen clashes and airstrikes, so much so that Al Burhan has had to flee to Port Sudan. When fighting couldn't be done between these groups, the army switched to civilians, indiscriminately bombing hospitals, schools, markets, and the Tri-City area of Khartoum has seen clashes and airstrikes, so much so that Al Burhan has had to flee to Port Sudan. When fighting couldn't be done between these groups, the army switched to civilians, indiscriminately bombing hospitals, schools, markets, and
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Anyone who says, "Oh no, it's just women are just it's an accident, etc." No, they're actually targeting them on purpose. On purpose. Oh my goodness, the level of evil this is. Oh my God. Man. So they're burning food on purpose, and now they're actually burning buildings or bombing buildings on purpose, right? Where they know people are going to be, where they know people are going to be. They're not bombing the desert where no one is going to be. They're bombing homes where people are going to be in. Do you not get how evil this is? Now, if you want to say that these Sudanese males, that they must be a special kind of male, right? And that makes them different from the rest of the Western males, right? Something has to be wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. This is how every male is. This is how every male is. They're not showing it because they don't need to show it in every minute of every day. They're not showing it because they don't need to show it every minute of every day. This is what is in them.
residential areas.
I ordered 200 hand-forged knives to my dorm room and built a Wix website to sell them.
Much of the fighting, though, is centered around Darfur, a notoriously arid land which has traditionally been Sudan's poorest region. There, the RSF has won victory after victory, receiving aid through a corridor it captured to East Libya. Sudan has had a troubled history of race relations. Many elites have declared Sudan an officially Arab Islamic country, sparking decades of unrest and conflict between them and the darker-skinned, mainly Christian people of the south, culminating in South Sudan's secession in 2011. More recently, though, has been the government's and RSF's fight against the non-Arab inhabitants of Darfur, a place literally meaning home of the Fur. This is an ethnically mixed region of Fur, Masalit, and Zagawa peoples, along with many nomadic Arab tribes, many of which moved in the 1980s. Tension in the region over land rights, along with approval from the Bashir regime, culminated in a genocide of the native Africans by Janjaweed forces in the 2000s. A scenario that, since the most recent breakout of war, has started again. Capturing.
Yep, they genocided the native Africans. Surprise, bitch. The same story. Surprise, surprise.
Al-Fashir, which was a regional hub for the displaced people of Darfur, would mark a huge victory for the RSF. For 18 months, they sieged the city, cutting food and medical supplies, building a wall of dirt around the city, and shooting anybody who tried to escape. On October 27, 2025, they finally captured it, starting what would become the bloodiest few weeks of the year. The mostly Arab soldiers went through the city, systematically torturing and killing all inhabitants over the age of 10. This is a group whose members call for the extermination of all black skins from killing, starting what would become the bloodiest few weeks of the to escape. On each of the city, cutting food and medical supplies, building a wall of dirt around the city, and shooting anybody who tried to escape. On October 27, 2025, they faced people of Darfur would mark a huge victory for the RSF. For 18 months, they sieged the city, cutting food and medical supplies, building a wall of dirt around the city, and shooting anybody who tried to escape. On October 27, 2025, they finally captured it, starting what would become the bloodiest few weeks of the year. The mostly Arab soldiers went through the city, systematically torturing and killing all inhabitants over the age of 10. This is a group whose members call for the extermination of all black skins from Darfur, shouting that
Saying they're Arabs, the mostly Arab. No. They're not Arabs, okay? They are Muslims. There's a difference. Muslim is your religion, which is a brainwash, right? Arab is your actual ethnicity. That is a blood thing. These males are African males who got the Muslim religion. These males are African males who got the Muslim religion. So they're basically killing their own people for the purpose of this brainwash that they received.
Women will soon have Arab babies, and who've posted these atrocities all over social media. It is an attempted ethnic cleansing of Darfur. Tens of thousands died with its capture, a fact. It is an attempted ethnic cleansing of Darfur. Tens of thousands died with its capture, a fact only known because of the piles of bodies seen from satellite imagery. In a city of this size, that means at least a tenth were killed within weeks of its capture, a speed of mass death not seen in the modern world since the Rwandan genocide. Now, killed Tens of thousands died with its capture, a fact only known because of the piles of bodies seen from satellite imagery. In a city of this size, that means at least a tenth were killed within weeks of its capture, a speed of mass death not seen in the modern world since the Rwandan genocide. Now, it is in all honesty more likely than not Sudan will collapse. At least it will collapse in its current form, with the West either formally seceding like South Sudan or creating a shadow government that basically acts as its own country without going through the increasingly useless motions of trying to become a UN member state. How could a country get so bad to the point where nobody has the power to stop what will likely go down as one of the worst mass killings of this decade? Modern Sudanese history has been a cycle of military rulers, people getting tired of them and their despotism, overthrowing them in
No, it is not. No, it is not. Okay, no. No. So what's happening is when there is no government. So the government basically is like the alpha male that is telling the other males, if you do this, I will come after you, right? So when there's no alpha male, then there becomes a power struggle for there to be an alpha male. So that's what you're witnessing. But there's a difference in if you think about how wolves do their alpha male nest, right? Their alpha male conflicts, right? How wolves do it. What they do? They take whoever it is that that is challenging them, and they fight just that person. Now imagine in wolves, right? Imagine if wolves do this. That okay, someone challenges you, or you want to challenge someone who is the alpha male, and you go killing everybody else. That's basically what's happening, right? It's just the only reason you would do this is because these are not your people. These are not your species, right? The reason the wolves don't do it is because they're actually each other's species, right? They're actually each other's species. And the reason you would do this is because these are not yours. These are not yours, so you can just, you can waste them. This is exactly what is happening. So, oh goodness gracious, I just, yeah. And you have to understand that it isn't just Sudan that this is happening in, right? they show you different countries where these things are happening is. But you have to understand that this is happening in everywhere there isn't like a actually happening everywhere. I was going to say everywhere there isn't like a government structure, but that's not true. It's actually happening everywhere. When you have in the United States where we feel like, oh, women are somewhat safe, in Japan women are somewhat safe, okay, the the drug dealers are exactly this is what they're doing, right? The problem is that they're not strong enough to overwhelm the government, right? So they seem like they are manageable, yeah. They seem like they're manageable, but in short, that is exactly what the drug dealers are doing. If you look at Japan, that's what the yakuza is. They're not strong enough to overwhelm the government, right? So it seems like, oh, things are under control, but the yakuza is basically amongst themselves wherever the government isn't curtailing them. This is what they're doing. This is what all of them are doing. If you look at the mobs, right? This is what they are doing. The cartels that Donald Trump is trying to go after. This is what they're doing. This is what each and every one of them is doing. If you look at the the fashion industry, the porn industry, the entertainment industry, the music industry, etc., right? It just goes on and on. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. You don't get to see those things, right? You don't get to see those things. But this is what's happening. If you look at China, the Chinese industry, right? I told you how I'm kind of obsessed with the Chinese, with the Chinese dramas. I just don't know why I'm obsessed with them. But I pay attention to a lot of things. And it's almost like every other movie is like there's a there's a war in business, right? They have this thing that the first son is going to inherit the entire business. He is the heir to the entire business, right? And so if you have multiple sons, then becomes a power struggle. And they literally do this, which is they're killing each other. They're killing each other, they're killing each other's wives, they're killing each other's sons, they're killing each other there, they're killing each other there. This is what they're doing. And it's very poignant to me because this was supposed to be romance, right? But in that romance is where they give us an insight into Chinese culture, Why? Because you understand the differences between what's happening in American romance and African romance and Chinese romance, which I am now a conglomeration of all those things, right? Each and every one of those, right? As far as the African part goes, and as far as the American part goes, because I have experienced both, right? I have experienced both societies. Both of those two societies I have experienced. What is happening in those movies are accurate as far as the societies go. So I am expecting that, but I've never experienced live Chinese societies. But I am expecting that what's happening in those movies, right, in those romance movies, is mirroring exactly what's happening in actual Chinese society. Right? So it's very, very significant for me that even in business, the actual conducting of business, right? It's war. It's war. These males want you to believe that they are just they're human, they are benign, they are good people. Why is there war on every corner? The Diddy documentary just came. The Diddy documentary just came, and before I even mentioned that this is what was happening in every industry, right? Even in America, right? I hadn't even thought about the Diddy documentary. I didn't even think about the Diddy documentary, right? I actually just totally guessed that, right? I guessed that is what is happening because of what I know Mills to be. But the Diddy documentary is the exact proof that I was correct, that I've been correct all along. The fact that Diddy has this mindset of he has to be the king of the world, right? He has to be the king of the world. Why? Why? There are freaking billions and billions and billions of dollars in entertainment. Why do you need to hoard all of that? You cannot even spend that much in this lifetime or in the next 50 lifetimes. Why do you need to hoard all of it? What's happening in all these industries? In all these countries, in every industry, in every country. The African gangs, that's what they're doing in Africa. That's something that they're doing. The American gangs, the black gangs, the cartels, the Hispanic gangs, right? The Russian gangs, the Italian gangs, right? The Croatian gangs, the Ukrainian gangs, right? All of them. The British gangs. This is what they're all doing. They make you seem like, oh no, Western males are better until you actually think about the gangs. I showed I made a video about males hoarding food. Hoarding food. That is what is happening. Males are a plague on this planet. These males are only a plague. These males are only a plague on this planet, and plagues need to be dealt with. It's as simple as that. Plagues need to be dealt with. And this is actually why they're actually afraid of women. This is actually why they're afraid of women, because they know that one day we will wake up and we will see them for exactly what they are. And it is about time we wake up. It is about time we wake the hell up. I don't want to make the videos too long, so yeah, I'm gonna end it here.
Popular riots only to end up with another